Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, we are discussing my valuation model for Tesla Robotaxi. Is Robotaxi a dud, or will it be worth trillions? My cat says don't forget to like and subscribe. In today's video, we are talking about my Tesla Robotaxi valuation model. I will also give you my 2033 price target for Robotaxi alone. This does not include auto, FSD, energy, the bot, or anything else. The fact is, Tesla's key to a huge valuation revolves around robotaxis. I will explain my reasoning each step of the way. After the explanation, I'll show you my base case model with price target. Buckle up because this is going to be an exciting ride. Tesla will be the first to generalize full self-driving. The way I see it, Tesla has no real competitor in the generalized full self-driving at the moment. There's companies that say they are working to get into this space, but I don't see any of them as being serious threats due to these issues. First, the competitors are geofenced. Looking at Waymo and others, they are locked to a city or a subsection of the city. If you pick the car up and drop it somewhere it doesn't expect, the car will not drive. The competitors require extremely detailed information on the roads beforehand, pre-mapping, called HD maps. That simply will not work for a generalized solution. This is why LiDAR and HD maps will fail. You need the areas pre-mapped before you can drive on it. This will not work. If something changes, then your car will become lost and stuck. For example, in my area, the 405 was under huge construction. Huge, massive. On-ramps, off-ramps, and bridges themselves are all going up and down, and the situation changes every week. Not to mention the construction itself. Cones everywhere. Turns that don't exist anymore. New turns that now exist. HD maps would fail in this scenario since these changes are not pre-mapped. You need a system that reacts dynamically. It reads the situation and reacts to it. You need generalized full self-driving. Key in on the word generalized. Everything needs to be based on vision and logic. You know, the way humans operate now, two eyes. That's all we need. That's all the car should need. We can navigate these dynamic situations decently well. As someone smarter than me once said, HD maps is like a train on tracks. You cannot move off the pre-established tracks. It is not flexible or dynamic. Tesla has over 1 million cars on the road today collecting data. This data is used to train their FSD network. The other networks have, 1,000 cars total? And look at that bulking thing on the top. All you're saying when you see one of these is, hey, look at me, I'm special. In your stupid little car with an ugly hat. First, I've broken out the cost per mile so you know more clearly what goes in there. So you get your brand spanking new Tesla. She's a beauty, just a pure beauty, perfect in every way. But what happens over time? She loses value until you have to scrap her and let her go. During this interval, we have this little thing called depreciation. My assumption in these robotaxi models is that Tesla owns these vehicles. Since Tesla owns these vehicles flat out, we need to account for depreciation. Due to the large amount of cars on the road, I'm going to use the straight line method. It is very simple. Subtract the asset salvage value from its cost to determine the amount that can be depreciated. Divide this amount by the number of years in the asset's useful lifespan. Simple, right? The salvage value on a Tesla is different than on an ICE vehicle, however, mostly due to that huge, nice battery pack. So I'll be using a larger salvage value for these vehicles than you would see for an ICE vehicle. The next question is, how long will these cars' useful lives be? Tesla cars are too new to know when they will start to break down. I'm assuming these cars, these robotaxis, put in 50,000 miles per year. I'll assign a useful life of 5 years, which would put the average replacement mileage at 500,000 miles. EV cars should last longer than ICE cars, so I think that's fair. But that number is due to change, if need be. Assuming this is based on the famed $25,000 vehicle, to evaluate the cost of these cars, I'm assuming that this vehicle has a 25% gross margin and thus costs $18,750 to produce. I'll assign a cost to these vehicles at that $18,750, a salvage price of $5,000 due mainly to the battery pack. So you divide that number by 5 equals $2,750 per car per year for depreciation. It doesn't seem like much, but boy, does it add up. Well, these cars also got to be insured. Lucky for us, Tesla has their own insurance company. I'm pretty sure it's built for Robotaxi. But we still have to expense it from our Robotaxi models because I'm assuming that Robotaxi will be deemed as a separate business from the existing Tesla businesses. I'm sort of isolating it. We also need to expense registrations and other miscellaneous fees to get the cars on the road. Now, SG&A is difficult one to estimate. I put it at the car count times $500. Research and development is another one to estimate before the Robotaxi network is set up. I put it at $1 billion per year. Tesla Robotaxi is about, I would say, 99% of the way there. It can do many drives now without an intervention, but it is not yet perfect. In fact, if you put it on the road now driverless, it would get into several accidents. But due to the pace of Robotaxi development, regulations, and a margin of safety, I expect FSD to be officially released in 2026, in about 3 years from now, starting with some cities and expanding. This can change depending on how FSD 12 goes. If it is better than expected, then I will pull the numbers closer. This is the main reason I have pushed this valuation model out to 2033. Tesla needs time to build the network, get the government and citizens' trust. I will update these numbers as we gain more information on FSD's progress. Before we get to my Tesla Robotaxi valuation, we need some base numbers. I mean, without actual real numbers, how could I possibly create an accurate Robotaxi valuation model for Tesla? First, let's look at the potential number of taxis Tesla can put on the road. Uber, as of the most recent quarter, had about 6.5 million drivers globally. This is the most recent number I can find. This gives us an idea of the TAM for Robotaxi. Now, this is also Uber's main problem. The human behind the wheel gets 75% of the proceeds. This is unsustainable, and this is why Uber's costs are just so astronomical compared to what Robotaxi will be. An Uber ride can cost between $1 to $2 per mile, depending on the location. Per share. I get a little head sometimes. An Uber driver can potentially put in over 50,000 miles in a year. Now, this is for the most active drivers. But remember, these drivers aren't going to be doing more than 8 or 10 hours a day. A Tesla Robotaxi can potentially run 16 hours a day. Now, taxis Taxis have different insurance requirements than normal cars. As you can see, it ranges around the $3,000 area. Tesla will have their own insurance company, so they will be able to get lower rates than these. With this kind of a base, Uber should be a shoo-in to win the Robotaxi race, right? Oh, that's right. Uber sold their autonomous vehicle segment. Okay, then I guess Lyft will win the Robotaxi war then, right? Oh, that's right. Lyft sold their segment too. Okay, then how about Waymo? Oh, that's right. Waymo's geofenced. The way I see it, Tesla has no real competitor in the segment at the moment. These are little like beginner toy test companies is why I consider them, not the real deal. Yeah, real deal, Evander Holyfield. No. These companies that say they are working to get into the space, but I don't see any of them being as serious threats due to the issues noted previously. These so-called competitors, for instance, require extremely detailed information on the roads beforehand. That simply will not work for a generalized solution. You know, I actually saw somebody drive a Waymo recently, and it was in Phoenix, and it would not board the freeway. It was a long drive. It was like a 20-30 minute drive, and it skipped the freeway entirely. That same driver did the same exact route in a Tesla using FSD, and guess what? It took the freeway and got there 20 minutes earlier. So Waymo's system is just completely not good. It's out of whack. A taxi network needs to properly respond to any kind of incident, from navigating roadwork to accidents to any number of random events. Thinking the car is a train on tracks does not work. I swear, this will be my last stat before I show you my Robotaxi valuation model that you've been waiting for. Here are some traditional vehicle cost per mile estimates for ICE vehicles. I've heard the average is closer to 60 cents. You can notice these are actually the cheapest going higher. So on average, it's closer to 60 cents when you get like trucks and SUVs and things. This is important for our models. Electric vehicles, especially Teslas, have a much lower cost per vehicle. I'm going to make an argument. Just hear me out. Hear me out. There are 1 billion cars on the road today. Now, my argument is that Tesla can get 10 million of them to eschew owning a vehicle and relying solely on Robotaxi. This will work better in cities than in rural areas. Here's my reasoning. It ultimately comes down to the total cost of ownership. ICE vehicles have a total cost of ownership around 60 cents per mile. There are other estimates that are closer to 40 to 50 cents. EVs, however, currently have a higher TCO than ICE vehicles. If, and that's a big if, Tesla can get their Robotaxi at or under 60 cents per mile, I believe that many people will make this transition. You know, I personally want to myself. If I can, I would definitely get rid of my car. It's just, I don't like driving. It's too dangerous. This would greatly boost the number of people using the Robotaxi service. All right, the boring stuff is out of the way. You've made it. Now on to my model, but beforehand, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Now first off, this model is my base case. If you want my bold or conservative cases, or if you want the full 8-page investment thesis on Robotaxi, I also have investment theses on NVIDIA, AMD, and others. Head on over to my Patreon. The link is in the pinned comments. Now let's get into the numbers. First, let's figure out how much it costs to operate a Tesla Robotaxi per mile. This will be used to estimate the operating statement. I'm assuming a Robotaxi to average 50,000 miles per year, since these cars can run 16 hours a day with no driver. I'm also estimating a tire lifespan of 50,000 miles. Cost to replace 4 tires at $500, which is actually, I think, a little high, but I'm being a little generous because I think that Tesla will want more expensive tires that will last longer. I think would be more beneficial to them. I'm assuming Tesla wants good quality tires to help prevent accidents, but can buy in bulk to reduce the cost. Cleaning services per year of $2,000 and servicing of $200 per year. That equates to, per mile, tires 1 cent, charging 3 cents, cleaning 4 cents, servicing 4 tenths of a cent, for a total cost per mile of 8.4 cents. You're free to disagree with these numbers. That's fine. And you can adjust it yourself. Tell you what, if you like these numbers, you can head on over to my Patreon, download this Excel sheet, modify the number, and then get to your valuation. Do it. Let's move on to the estimated operating statements. Assuming that this is the famed $25,000 vehicle, to evaluate the cost of these cars, I'm assuming that this vehicle has a 25% gross margin and thus costs $18,750 to produce. For the base case, I'm assuming a price per mile of 50 cents and 10 million cars on the road. This 50 cents is what gets us to 10 million cars on the road. So because people will be ditching their cars for a Robotaxi, and the likes of Uber and Lyft will be out of business. A PE of 40, depreciation of $2,750, insurance $2,000, registration $80, salvage value $5,000. That's used to calculate depreciation. Now, first off, Uber and Lyft, in my opinion, will be taken out by Tesla. And also keep in mind, Uber currently has a market cap of $100 billion. Just FYI. The reason they can't compete on this price. Uber did recently say that they were partnering with Waymo in Phoenix. Again, this is the problem with geofencing. You got to go one city at a time, and it's only right now in Phoenix. So the issue there is, again, Uber's going to have to split the fee with Waymo, and nobody's vertically integrated like Tesla, and none of them make their own cars. None of them. And their cars will have that stupid hat. I think Tesla will take the most or all of their business, as well as add new customers, since Teslas will be so cheap per mile. Keep in mind that I'm assuming Tesla owns these vehicles. If a customer owns the vehicle, then they will get a cut. But Tesla does not need them for their Robotaxi network. They would just support the initial cost of the vehicle, so Tesla is cash flow positive immediately. It would cost billions for Tesla to build enough vehicles for their own use. But overall, it's more beneficial. We're about to get to the operating statement. Before I show you mine, why don't you show me yours? Comment down below. What is your target price for Tesla stock in 2033? And there she blows. Now in this, utilization is the amount of miles driven that is charged. There is somebody in the car and it is taking them somewhere. I put it at 50%, which I believe is small, as Tesla will have an efficient pathing system so that their cars spend more time driving people than driving empty. The reason the utilization is a factor is because it affects the cost per mile. Costs will incur a cost per mile whether they are transporting somebody or not. Price per mile includes the possibility of multiple passengers in the car at the same time. The number may seem high, but when you take into account multiple passengers, I think it's not. So car count 1 million, revenue $125 billion, gross profit $106.1 billion. Gross profit is high because Robotaxi is a service business. The depreciation cost on the cars is down below. So depreciation is $12 billion, insurance $9 billion, SG&A $2.2 billion, R&D $1 billion. Yeah. Operating income $81.6 billion. Net income $69 billion. And that was completely unintentional. If you slap a PE of 40 on it, that gives you a market cap in 2033 of $2.7 trillion, or a share price of $868.36 for robotaxis alone, not including the auto business, FSD, energy, the bot, etc. This is my base case. My bull and conservative cases are at my Patreon. And just frankly, my bull case is insane. It's so insane, I couldn't post it here. Now, just as a note, I am not discounting this to today's dollars. This is my price estimate in 2033. So this is a 10-year estimate. So yeah, let me know your price for Tesla in 2033 in the comments below. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.